Hello, everybody, and welcome to my channel. This is my mess of a candle. I'm gonna put it back because it's a monster. I've just been sticking candles in the melted wax of the candle before, and it's forming a blob. So, I am here to show you 4 queer books. Here they are. They all have an orange and green. This whole stack has got an orange green thing going on. I don't know why. That was not planned. I think that orange must be having its day in book cover design. Because they all feature orange and then 2 of them feature green. But I have 4 queer books. I have read them all. I did that for Pride Month. Happy Pride Month. And here is the thing now. I felt a lot of things while reading these books. Instead of telling you if I liked or didn't like it, I still will. I definitely will still tell you if I liked it or didn't like it. But instead of rating it out of a scale of, say, 1 to 5, I'm going to categorize these books by coffee flavor profiles. So the categories are light roast, medium roast, and dark roast. That way, even if I didn't like a book, you might like it if you know what flavor of literature you enjoy. Or maybe I might like a book, but you know that that's a flavor category that you're choosier about. So categories will work like this. Light roast books are going to be things like Stephen King or Ruth Ware or Dan Brown. These books that they're well written. They illustrate a story. They're what you would consider your beach reads, your airplane reads, your vacation read, because they're light, they're zingy, they're bright, and the writing propels the story along on an action level. Even we don't get a lot of that sensorial, poetic writing. This is very clean. This is very, here's your story. And the storyteller has their voice, and it's propelled forward very quickly. So a light roast, a book that you could probably read in a weekend and knock it out. Your medium roast book is going to be probably the vast majority of my library and make up, I find, the bulk of my reading. These are books that, unlike the first one, they contain a clear, obvious craft of writing that's it's singular, or it's poetic, or it's unique. The characters start to become symbolic in very multi-leveled ways, and you really get this kind of full depth of flavor. For example, a lot of the literary writers like Jeanette Winterson are in this category. The sense that somebody is reckoning with things on a symbolic level, on a level of metaphor. And so you've got these really nice layers. The third and final category would be the opposite of a beach read. This is your dark roast books. This is dark roast. Now you are at a level where it really takes time to read these books. They are highly symbolic. They tend to be maybe even experimental. There is so much layered meaning, and there's either an interiority, or we're dealing with, on an external level, a lot of research or history, or someone painting with a fine brush their story. This would be things like Dostoevsky. This is some of your bigger lit. Olga Tokarczuk, I would say Flights falls in this category, while Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead falls in your medium category. So these kind of bigger works, these really dense works, or very complex and layered works would fall into a dark roast category. And of course, not everyone likes to read over there. Not everyone likes to read on the kind of light roast side. Your medium roast is where a lot of people tend to like to hang out. So I find that the category of coffee tends to map onto books pretty well in that vague atmospheric sense. So this will be my test run of these categories. If it works in this video, I will do this again with other books, but I figure let's go ahead and move from light roast, medium to dark, so you can see maybe if there's something you might want to read in these books. They're all queer, and I will talk a little bit about them. The first book that I would like to show you is our light roast book. This is a juicy, vibrant, bright, thematically dark, funny enough, book. This is called Fruit Fly by Josh Silver. You might have seen this book. It's new. I believe there are paperback copies, but this is a newer book. I have a hardback copy here. Fruit Fly. Now, this book is about a female writer. She's with a husband. She's got complicated stuff going on in her life, and she's out of ideas for a next book. She ends up exploiting a young, gay, homeless guy who is into the kind of drug and party scene. And the way in which they entangle their lives causes complications, or are they complications? Question mark, question mark, question mark for both of them. And they're going to emerge out of their relationships changed. And in that way, it's a nice contrast between two different characters who are clashing in space, and their problems around them are stirred up and disturbed. And we get to see the way in which these two kind of lowly people interact. So it's very dark. It's very, very dark. It is a light roast book because as I read it, it was very clear to me that this is very image-based writing. The whole thing is very clean. You can picture every beat. In fact, the lines are structured in a way where it's very beat-like, as if it were a screenplay. And it's just quick, boom, point by point by point, dialogue, dialogue, dialogue. It's zippy, it's fast. I read this very quickly. You can see by even just looking at these 2 pages, the way that it's formatted, that it's a quick read. It's truly line by line. There's a lot of dialogue. That being said, I'm not the biggest fan of this book, and I found that it was a struggle for me to get through it. I think because as I was getting the illustration of it in my head, I found that it was such a movie. It was going as fast as a movie with characters, and it's so well written in how clean it is. But I just didn't like the movie, if that makes sense. The movie that was playing in my head, I didn't like the characters. And I didn't get a lot out of the thrill and the sensationalism of this book. And I didn't find that it gave me any other meaning, further meaning, than the sensation of the action and the sensation of the scenarios that were extreme and that occurred often in the book. Very dark and very extreme. I wasn't getting a lot out of it, and I found that it was taking some of my energy. So, it's a light roast book, in my opinion. This is going to be somebody's cup of tea, that dark, sensational, kind of thrilling page turner that involves this straight woman who's kind of funny and ridiculous, and this young gay guy who is a little weasel. And yeah, I would say somebody's gonna really, really like this, and I would recommend it if that is your kind of book. It is worth noting that this book has very high ratings on the internet where books go to be ranked. And people really like this book. If you are a light roast, you want to read a gay book at the beach that leaves you shooketh up, this one. And I would recommend it for that reason. And it's well written in its clarity and its humor. It's quite funny. Thank you for indulging me in the coffee categories. I think it's going well. I think that's accurate. That's a light roast coffee book. Let's move on to our medium roast category. Now this is where I'm like, buckle the freak in. I cannot wait to share these books with you. It's also worth saying, if you're still watching this, queer or not, like, these books are good, and I would recommend these next 3, but we'll do the medium roast. I would recommend them to anybody. Let's start with this one. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. My heart. This is Wrongness by Ruth Novacek. I cherished this as I read it, and within the first few pages I knew that this was gonna be a book that I would keep in my back pocket, literally carry it around with me and read it everywhere I went. I could not put it down. This is a small book, also orange, about Ruth Novacek's relationship. These are her kind of raw thoughts about somebody who is in her life and then is not in her life anymore and has blocked her. And it's about their relationship. It's very poetic. It is so clear that she has such a unique mastery of language that's unique to her. And it was just wonderful being able to read this. I think I would dare say that many lesbians, I think many queer people would relate to this, what's in here, because not to be reductionist, but there's a classic attachment style dynamic where you have an anxious attached person and an avoidant person, and it all just falls apart in this kind of incredible way that I really relate to. And some of my own behavior was in this book. It was wild to read. This is in the medium roast category because even though it's so fluid to read and so immediate, all her emotion is loaded in these sentences that are just perfect. It's clear that she is a poet, and it was just, I love it when a writer has a really strong voice, and she does. So a lesbian book about a lesbian relationship. They have an age difference, so she was with someone a lot younger, and there's all kinds of meditations on that as well, this dynamic, this kind of replacing the mother, this she's not scared of anything, and it comes across in this book. If that resonates with you, I would recommend this book to many people. This is a 5 out of 5 for me. I love this book. This will be a reread, and this is one of those I would gift to people in my life, to lesbians in my life who are on the journey of love. I would give them this. It's beautiful. Wrongness. I recommend Wrongness by Ruth Novacek. Okay, staying in the medium roast category, they really land, they're impactful, and the craft of writing, where you really want to slow down and savor the language. That's where that lives. This book is wonderful. It is a wonderful example of the use of language to tell a story, to convey pain. Nova Scotia House by Charlie Porter. This book made me cry and cry and cry I have underlined things in here. I have stopped what I was doing and I have taken this book and like read parts of it to people, because this book to me is probably my favorite depiction of queerness I've ever read. It captures queerness not just as a spark of sexual attraction or a spark of attraction, or for anything. It captures queerness as a kind of an existential position in the world, a place of magic and potential and possibility. The narrative, the hard narrative, is about a guy who was very young and he got with his partner Jerry. Jerry ends up passing away from AIDS back in the 80s, and then we flash forward to like the 90s, when our protagonist is an adult and his name is John, or Johnny. We see the world through Johnny's point of view in, all times. And the writing in this book is also very poetic, like in Wrongness, but it paints a very rhythmic picture of queer life as a cycle. So you get the seasonality, you get the highs and lows, and of course you get life and death. Reading anything about the AIDS crisis is immediate tears. This is so beautiful and touching. I think some people they might struggle with the way that it's written, because again, it's experimental, and you get a lot of this saying something. A character, Johnny, will say something, and then you go into the interior, and the interior is that same kind of rhythm. So like the sentence, like, so what can you say to someone who thinks they have failed? Only they know the standard by which they judge themselves, the impossible standard that they can never meet, self-imposed, so that they never meet it. So they always consider themselves to have failed. What can you say? All I could say was, I know what you mean. What can you say? I said this. I loved it, and I found it sucked me right into the world. And again, I love when writers have a very strong, prominent style, the way that they use language to convey a story. That's why writing is infinite. This is why writing is infinite. Now, let's talk about the Dark Roast. This is the final book that I have to show you. And was astonishing to read. This is Notes of a Crocodile. Notes of a Crocodile. This is by Chu Miaojin. I think. This book is about a protagonist who is kind of coming of age late. This is a classic queer story. In 1980s Taipei, at a university, so they're in college, and a lot of it is their notes, their inner dialogue, their deep introspection about the world around them, that's mixed with their encounters, one of them being this kind of obsession with this girl that lasts a long time. They're on and off again, and with a cast of queer characters that are around them in the periphery, inside and in the periphery of this university. Interspersed are chapters where a crocodile is our protagonist, who symbolically functions in seemingly a million ways, and they're really beautifully written. The crocodile is in this world where crocodiles are valued and not valued. This is, I think, technically modernist literature because it blows linearity out of the water. We are zipping around this character's life in different ways and piecing together these notes and reflections as well as the story of the crocodile. You get like a breathtaking view of queer pain. This book is also very thematically dark. Because it's 80s Taipei, there are some references that might not translate, but it doesn't matter because you are in such a singular world. Queerness and lesbianism kind of weave together in this person's identity, and there's a reckoning with their sexuality. The writer, Chu Miao-jin, has a bit of a tragic story. I won't mention things here, but you can look it up if interested. This person was very young when they wrote their books. And having read this, I was immediately left wanting to know everything about them and their life, because this book is so unique and singular and impactful. It's one of the most powerful books I've ever read. This is in the dark roast category because of the sheer mastery of layers at work, both historical, literary. Our character is very well read. Our character clearly ingests books and concepts on a personal level, and so you get a narrative like no other, you get a narrator like no other, and it was a joy to read. It's worth going very, very slow. I think it makes you go slow, because this is not the easiest read. It's not, because of the incredible depth of its characterizations of the world. It's turbulent, it's very dark, it's moody, it's cranky, and at the heart of it is something very bright, a kind of joy, a kind of compassion, this vibrancy of queer life. So, Notes of a Crocodile. I highly recommend this book. It is in the dark roast category. This will not be the easiest book you have ever read, but I highly, 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 highly recommend it. If that's your thing, I think you will really like this book. Light to medium to dark flavor profiles for books. There's an audience for all of them, so I hope that you were able to maybe find an idea for your next read in this pile. I hope that this rating scale worked. So far, I think it did. I think that kind of accurately portrays the reading experience of these 4 books. I'm the kind of person, I tend to not dip in the light roast category. So if I knew more books were like that, I would do more research first, I think, as opposed to if I know that something is queer and it's in the dark roast category, I'm probably gonna pick it up because I like that style of reading. I like that experience of reading where I'm blown away by the craft and the metaphors and the cognition, the wacky, weird world of cognition translated into writing. That's why I like to read books. That's what I get out of them. Action for me is secondary, so I tend to like the darker profile, a really good medium roast. So anyway, I wish books had labels like that instead of these numerical things, because a lot of very easy reading contemporary literature has very high ratings, and I don't like it. I have mixed experiences, and my favorite books, which are like very dense, or they're just thick, they're thickum books, those tend to have like 3.5. So I've learned to translate a prize-winning 3.5 book as like my cup of tea, and a best-selling 5-star book might not be my cup of tea, because that's just how I've had to translate this data based on my reading experience. So I wish more books had some kind of theme or flavor profile rating. So still figuring that out. I hope that this was entertaining. Maybe you found your next read. If you have any good queer book recommendations in the medium to dark roast category, please give them to me. Please do not hold back your medium to dark roast recommendations, please. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. This was really fun. I will definitely be back for more videos on God knows what, books and otherwise. So, I'm wishing you a good day. I hope that you have some rest and relaxation, no matter where you are. My blob candle also wishes you a good day. We are both going to say to you good night if you're going to sleep, and if not, then good